Hello everybody, welcome back to Max Reviews. I'm Braden. Really sorry to everybody that I couldn't put any videos out on Friday and Saturday last week because unfortunately our my dad ran over like a wire that went to our internet, so we lost internet for a day, and then the day after that there was the national archery tournament for New York State, and I had to go to that all day, so I didn't have time to put out any videos those past 2 days. Sorry for that, but today we are going to be talking about the new Cheaper by the Dozen movie. And if you guys didn't know, I did like grow up on the Cheaper by the Dozen 1 and 2, the old ones. So today we're going to be doing our review for it. Is it really worth your watch on Disney Plus if you haven't already watched it? So welcome everybody back to Max Reviews, and let's just get started with a good here. And I think some of the better stuff, there's some pretty interesting dynamics here going on because you have the dad who broke up with his wife. He had 3 kids, and then he married this other woman, this black woman, who had a popular football player husband who she divorced, and they had 2 kids, so came together for a family of 5, and then they had 2 sets of twins and came out with a family of 9. And then it all comes down to they sort of slightly adopt this kid that's the dad's sister's son, and that makes them 12. So the dynamics going on here pretty fairly interesting. You got a lot of stuff going on here when you have 12 people, 12 whole family members all together, and you also have the exes, the wife's ex-husband and the husband's ex-wife all showing up, which is pretty interesting right there. And then you also have the kids, who I think they did a fairly good job. They were fine. They have some mini character arcs with this one boy who's sort of like a nerd, and then he's having a party and he likes this girl, and so he dresses up and changes his entire personality. There's this girl who's a basketball player, and she gets a boyfriend, but she's not doing good at basketball, so she wants to move back to their old town. You got just the littler kids who just have, just little kid personalities doing insane stuff. There's some pretty, I'd say, slightly sweet moments in here, and some fun enough little banter and gags that got me chuckling a little bit. But other than that, let's just move on to the bad. And unfortunately here, I don't really know why this was done as Cheaper by the Dozen. It seems like it's a whole different story than Cheaper by the Dozen. They just use the Cheaper by the Dozen name to get people to watch it, which I think is a big problem for Disney Plus, because their new stuff that they do, if it's not attached to like Pixar or something, or Star Wars or Marvel, they have these name brands. Like they did a Turner and Hooch show, which that's weird. And they did they're bringing back all their old movies and then just turning them around into new stuff, and I feel like they don't need to do that. And this really, other than them having 12 family members in total, it doesn't really seem like a really good reason to bring this back, because I know I was a pretty big fan of the Cheaper by the Dozen films, the old ones, but I don't think a whole bunch of people were. And the story is sort of like Cheaper by the Dozen, the old ones, the first one, but totally different. Like, instead of being a football coach, the guy's a baker, a chef, if you want to say, so it doesn't get confusing. And instead of them moving and just how they move, it's sort of the same miniature plot, but totally different elements going on here, with you having the exes showing up, and you have all this different stuff going on. There's a few things that sort of modernize it, because if you watch the older Cheaper by the Dozen movies, you look and they legitimately have an old, like early 2000s computer that they're using, and it doesn't seem like modern day. But this, they have TikTok, they tackle racism, and they also have AirPods. So it sort of modernizes it, but I don't think it needed to be modernized. Other bad stuff here, there was a bunch of jokes here that didn't land for me. Like, it's not, I know some people might cringe at the old Cheaper by the Dozen when you have like fake throw up that's going off screen. You hear people puking and then they fall and throw up, that sort of stuff, and sort of more disgustinger elements, but this I still like. I could accept that. I grew up on that, so. But for this movie, I just think it's fine. Bunch of the kids, they don't really have big character arcs or anything. Um, Nothing huge. The family's sort of dynamic. Another thing that's sort of, I have a family of 6. I have a family of 8. My mom, my dad, and then I have 5 siblings. And it's pretty chaotic around here when you have us all going around. And 2 little brothers that are under the age of 5, and then you have my sisters who teenagers, and then 2 twins, and then you have me, and then my parents. So I could understand the big family element. I have friends who they have a family of 11, I think, and so I know these bigger families, and this did not reflect on it well. Like, you go through the opening scenes, and they're going perfectly orderly, whereas I felt the first few Cheaper by the Dozens, it was chaos, it was insanity, and it felt a lot more natural, like my family. I don't know, different families, different stuff, but at least for me, this didn't really feel like an actual family. How it goes, how they all treat each other, and how everything works out. They just don't exactly feel like a natural family. Whereas this really does and seem like that much of a real family. The ending is pretty generic. The plot points pretty generic. There's some cool stuff in here, so I think it's just fine. Before I go, just leave your comments down below if you've seen the old Cheaper by the Dozen films and what you thought of this movie, and just your anticipation level for it. For me, this was just a fine movie. If you're gonna be sitting down with your family, check it out. I'd slightly recommend it. Not the biggest thing. I watched it with my family. We enjoyed it enough. And so overall, I think I'm going to give this a B-. And I'd say just a 4 out of 10. It's not a huge movie or anything, but it's good enough for what it is. Nowhere near as good as the old Cheaper by the Dozen movies for me. But anyway, come back tomorrow. I'm going to be ranking all the Cheaper by the Dozen movies. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe to Max Reviews. Don't forget to leave your comments down below. And Braden out.